Hey guys, how are you? Okay, today we have a very interesting personality, somebody whom I know for a very long time. As I said, this channel, we cherish and we enjoy our first circle champions. Okay, it's very important that you know what is happening, in your first circle. And I'm bringing you a very, very interesting personality. And I want to probably start with a very simple line which I gave for my students this morning. uh, the term is called as a progressive adaptation. Okay, many students ask me saying like, what is this progressive adaptation? I told them saying that, I have a personality who will tell you what a progressive adaptation is all about, because in his life he has taken a lot of personalities in his life, and he is a person who has touched various zones, and he has succeeded in various zones, and he has been a champion in a lot of things. Currently, he is dialing from Ireland. We are so happy that he has taken time and dialed into our channel. His name is MuthuKumar. Very fondly, we call him Muthu. Muthu, thank you very much for joining this program and accepting my invitation. How are you today?
I'm very good, Satish. I'm delighted to be here. And it's an absolute pleasure talking to you. And yes, we go a very long way back. And it's an absolute pleasure.
Okay. Friends, Muthu is currently doing his doctorate in Ireland, and he's also a professor in Ireland. So let us first ask him about his career. I don't. Let's not talk with the Ireland story first, because there is a whole lot of story which happened in India. So Muthu, take us through the journey. Like from India to Ireland, from your magic days to French professor to German professor, and then give us a small journey walk.
So thank you, Satish. I've had a very zigzag career path, if I may say. My primary qualification, I qualified as a physiotherapist in India. So I studied in Coimbatore. Before that, I went to school with Satish, and I used to perform magic quite a lot in my school days, and I learned quite a lot of things through magic. One of the key things is resilience, and learning from failures as well is through magic. And then I studied physiotherapy in college in Coimbatore, and I did a degree in physiotherapy. While I was doing it, I also pursued a diploma in computing at the same time, and this was during the mid 90s. And so I had this interest for technology, and I completed a diploma, and I was trying to tie medicine and technology together. So at that time I attempted creating anatomy databases to help me learn, and I was writing about virtual reality in my college newsletters. So it has been a very interesting career path from then on. Then I worked as a physiotherapist in Chennai for 3 years, and while I was doing that, I also pursued courses in French and German, which led me to to lecture on German and French in Loyola College, Chennai, for a very brief stint. So it was a very interesting time, because I would actually lecture first thing in German, and then I would go to clinical practice. Then I would have lunch and come back to Loyola again to give a brief French lecture. Then I would go back to clinical practice. And then my technology interests were still kept on at the same time in the evening. And I traveled to Ireland. Then I also briefly worked in Delhi. I had a brief stint in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi. So I was doing a work-based training program for 6 months over there. And it has been a very, very interesting journey. And then I've been living in Ireland for the last 16 years. And I've been working as a senior physiotherapist in the Irish Health Service. And for the last 6 years, I'm based in Dublin. And I've been pursuing a PhD on 3D printing in medicine. So 3D printing is a new technology. It's a technology which enables you to manufacture objects within a short space of time. When I say objects, I mean it ranges from medical devices to body parts. And that's where this is quite exciting. And that's where my background in computing actually helped quite a lot. And before this, I had a huge interest for applying robotics in healthcare. So to do that, I had to upskill myself in engineering. So as a clinician trying to do that, it was quite a challenge, and it was a big learning curve at that time. And it was a very self-initiated learning pathway. And if you have a keen interest, you could actually pursue what you like. And if you just need to have enthusiasm, it kind of keeps on growing. And what I'm doing now is I'm in the last stage of my PhD on 3D printing. what I mean is I designed a patient-specific prosthetic leg, which is an artificial foot. And I've been working with patients to how to design devices which patients need based on their own anatomy. And I also occasionally lecture. So I'm an adjunct assistant professor. So I have teaching appointments in two universities in Ireland. One is in University College Dublin, where I do research. The other one is in Trinity College Dublin, in which I also pursue a different type of research, which is in e-health. So it's been a mixed bag, but it's been a very, very interesting life.
Fantastic. Okay. I will probably give a philosophical touch, like starting from a magic to a prosthetic, like which indeed is a magic for somebody's life. So I think there is somewhere a magic touch, like in all through your career. And Muthu, I've known you for a very long time. You're a very positive person, not all of us will know the kind of the failures that you have crossed and you have come. And whenever we talk about progressive adaptation, we only talk about the success which is there, and many of the channels which is being broadcasting all the inspiring story, they always concentrate on the end victory lap, but this particular channel, Business Talk with Satish Sampath, we don't worry about the last lap where you won. We worry about the previous laps where you failed, but yet you got some kind of an inspiration to get up and then run. Okay. I want you to tell us few of the instances where things did not go well, and then like what is the kind of learning that you took out of it, and then where are you today? Is Muthu with all the learnings? So give us a learning tool.
So I could actually give two examples: one from my magic days and one from my recent research times. So the magic days would be, so in our school, we can perform in the annual day and in the magic show. So to perform that, you have to be selected to perform, and there is a rehearsal. So I was, during the rehearsal, I used to do a blindfold trick. In this time, I have to acknowledge my magic guru, Prakash Savkur, who also kind of was a senior student in my school as well. So this is one of the tricks he performs, and I tried to do the same trick. Was performing this, and this requires volunteers. So I had called a few of my friends. My friends were quite a cheeky bunch. I'm still in touch with them. So they joined me on the stage, and one of it involves blindfolding me. While blindfolding me, one of them actually pushed my eyes quite intensively, and it's excruciatingly painful. And you don't really, the audience may not know it is actually extremely painful the way they did that. And so what I do is actually ask them to write something on the board. So instead of writing something, they they took an artistic liberty, and they wrote the Tamil letter R, which is like, they wrote, the whole blackboard was filled with that. So I said, what is this R? And then everyone started laughing, and I became a laughing stock for my classmates in the school. And the next day when I came to the class, everyone was laughing. But it was, I was not very much upset by it. I was thinking, why are they laughing? I was actually in pain. But I was not, I also understood that we were all children. We were hardly 13, 14 years at that time. So then I practiced this trick again and again. And it was a big hit in the final show. And that magic also teaches you not to be ashamed of anything. So you need to practice, and you need to practice it again. And you can't really be ashamed. Coming back to recent, during my research days, there was a machine which was required to be built. When I say a machine, a 3D printer. So a 3D printer is something, it's if you take a toothpaste and if you flip it topsy-turvy, or if you squeeze in a particular fashion, you can build on it. So 3D printing is, in a very simple extent, is actually adding layer by layer. So the printers I work or work like that, they're called as fused deposition modeling printers. And the printer I needed was actually quite an expensive one, and we didn't have the funds to acquire it. So I ended up building an open source one. I'm not an engineer, but my software skills actually came quite helpful. So it was one of the longest projects during my PhD, and I took 1 year of my time to build a 3D printer which can print up to 45 centimeters, 60 centimeters in height. Usual 3D printers only print up to 20 centimeter height in dimensions. So, and it was not just that, this actually led to something else, because it opened up a lot of possibilities within the university. A lot of people who were engineers wanted to learn this from me, and they wanted to have a chat with me. And there was even a talk of printing high density, high strength polymers, which could be sent to space. But that didn't happen because I was doing too many things at the same time. But what that experience taught me is the same thing which started in magic. If you put your mind to something with intent and with don't hesitate to actually ask for help. Don't hesitate to seek the right guidance, and don't be afraid of failure, and do the right repetitions and learn with every repetition. That's what is helping me even as I speak as of today.
Perfect. Just to give an additional flavor to that, I also had a very small doubt with regards to 3D printing. People who know me, I'm into the business of media, animation, and things for almost 2 decades, and we wanted to print out an animated character, and even though there is a professional side of me, the creativity and animation is the one which gave me the lot of money. You can see Mickey Mouse there. I'm very grateful to that also. So the point, what I went to Muthu and asked him, saying that suggest me some technology, and we started talking about technology and things like that. And the end of the show was, instead of buying a machine, I took over a small company which came for sale. The specific thing what I wanted to make it out here is that if I can catch Muthu again for another 30 minutes, I want to do an expert talk or with Muthu, specifically how to capitalize 3D technology into human use. Like specifically this, I want, because I will be moderating the session, but at the same time, I will also be learning, because 3D printing as of today is all considered only into the manufacturing sectors, the other sectors. But there are so many things which can be done using 3D printing, which can impact human life. So let's see. Okay, let's come back to the topic again. And Muthu, fantastically, you have said, like what the learning took you and things like that. The other part which I wanted to talk to you about is how come the interest into completely varied things, which are completely not connected at all, okay, can help some individual.
I think this is from people like us, Satish. I was in our school. I would blame our school for that, because in the school we were actively encouraged to pursue things. We use, and I mean it with the greatest sense. Every school does this to students, but in our school there were things which might not have had. So, for example, during our primary school days, there was a picture reading class in which they'll show you a very simple picture and you have to narrate and tell a story on that. And then there was gardening sessions, there was electronics, there was scouts, there was basketball, there was volleyball, which you are quite fond of, still I guess. And that gave me this. So instead of, I could give an example of a Swiss Army knife. A Swiss Army knife is a tool in which it is just a small tool in your pocket, but it can be all it can be when you want it to be. So to me, I was a very curious child, and I had a fantastic childhood. And it doesn't require money to pursue hobbies. All you need is a sheet of paper, and we used to do origami, and we used to play games from nothing. We used to play book cricket. And I'm talking random things because you get pleasure from reading, from exploring, from doing things like painting. So I used to paint a lot. When you paint, you observe, and painting also takes you to places which you've never kind of thought about, because the starting of my thesis was a simple sketch of what I really wanted it to be. And when I started computing as well, so I have this very indirect way of pursuing things which I don't really do well at the start. For example, I was quite miserable in French in school, and I ended up teaching French, and I have like diplomas in French and advanced French. So, and German, it's a random thing. So it may look a little bit pompous, but it does not require pompousness. It just requires curiosity. And your identity is not dictated by your profession or your degree. Your identity is dictated by what you feel like at any given time. And a lot of things people have taught me for free. Say I was living in Coimbatore. I did my degree in Coimbatore. And Coimbatore used to have a ham radio club, and I used to just pass there on the bike. And to join that club, it was 25 rupees, which is nothing. And it was an extremely nominal price. for a student to join. And they would teach you Morse code. They will teach you about frequencies, about wireless. And close to that, there was a bridge club, and it was frequented by the by the kind of millionaires and businessmen in Coimbatore. But they'll actually teach you bridge for free. And if you're curious, you can actually sit and watch how they play. And a lot of times, I've been never ashamed to ask people to learn. And that is the curiosity. And I'm not the only one like this. There are many. So, for example, you say they have detailed interest in Carnatic music or fashion or engineering or astronomy or reading. So to me, I was talking to one of our friends yesterday, and I was telling it's like you get a juice called as fruit mixture in Madurai. You get it near Meenakshi Temple, and it's a mixture of all the exotic fruits one could get, and it's divine to drink. And to me, my life is I'd like that to be like a fruit mixture drink. All you can be. So
you can be so varied in your structure and color, but yet you can be fit in a cup.
Absolutely. So, and it's also kind of very pleasant to taste as well.
Absolutely. So that's fantastic, Muthu. Okay, so the reason why I actually asked is that most of the time people actually have the curiosity, but they don't have the guts to go behind that. Put their guts behind and pursue it. Okay, and I was exactly trying to get that out from you, and you put it beautifully here. Going forward, this is a section which I really like because I try to get few things out for the student community. Okay, from let's say your school days being Magic Muthu, and then you pursued basketball, and then you went into French and German, and then now you are doing. There is always a student in you. Okay, and this is something which I want you to go a little deep and then tell, because this is very important for whether they are students or whether they are startup entrepreneurs or whether they are mature entrepreneurs. The learning never stops. The student in you never dies. Okay, how important was that student in you? I'm sure that the student is still there inside you.
Well, I'm officially also a student as we speak. Yes. Probably one of the so as people kind of still slag me, calling me as Idayam Morali or Chinni Giant, or who kind of play roles in Tamil cinema who remain as perpetual college students. But to come to your point, Satish, it's I've always had friends in all spectrums, and my friends drove my learning. So when I say friends, when I was a child, my friends were adolescent boys. So when I was in Ananagar, and of course I had contemporaries like you as friends as well, but I've always had friends who are much older than me during my school days and the college days, and I have friends who are much younger than me these days as well. And depending on who you are with, many of my friends are quite multidimensional. If I could give one example of a friend who made me read a lot during my college days, and I used to kind of read English literature from his books, and I would actually go to advertising clubs which had nothing to do with physiotherapy or technology. And there was another friend who was pursuing aero modeling in Madurai. So it's when your friends are curious and they motivate you, and you kind of get inspired by them, and that keeps on. You don't need a university to learn. You just need an open mind to learn, I think. And in this day and age of technology as well, everyone is a learner. We are learning WhatsApp, we are learning new media, we are learning social media. We are learning new things every single day as we go by. But if one thing which is quite important is not just about learning, but how we reflect on our learning as well. And for students, it's quite vital. Learn for you. Don't learn for a qualification. Because if you learn for you, that stays within you forever. If you learn for a qualification, you tend to forget after you receive the parchment. So that has actually helped me quite a lot. And I can give an example. I don't have any shame in saying I used to get a 0 in chemistry during my school days. And the same during my secondary certificate, my highest marks were in chemistry. It is not, but don't take anger in your failure. Say it. Why does it actually come to me? And is there a way in which I could learn? So I'm a very visual learner. For me to realize that, it took quite late in life. I'm also a kind of an action learner as well. So find your own learning style. Just because someone reads out loud and reads does not mean that you have to do the same thing as well. So try to find the right way to learn and the right way to reflect. And if you could reflect on what you've learned, then you can keep on learning.
Perfect, perfect. And how easy was moving from a Indian-based education system into a international research? Was it a big change, or is it something which was easy? Because I'm asking on behalf of the students from India, if at all they want to pursue an research or doctoral education overseas, is it something where which is completely ghost driven, or is it something which you can plan it through?
This is a big misconception on behalf of Indian students, as in what we learn in India. In fact, only because I was educated in India, my foundation education was in India, I'm actually pursuing what I'm doing right now. And I'd make it very clear. I've had excellent teachers from my school days to my university, and I could give a few examples as well. So, our one of my anatomy professors is Professor Silveris, and he was a professor of anatomy in PSG as well as in my institution as well. So he would actually not just teach anatomical terms; he'll tell the stories between, for example, the hip bone is called as acetabulum, and he'll actually come to the class and he'll say, "What is vinegar? What is the chemical name for vinegar?" And we'll kind of reflect, maybe acetic acid. And said, yeah. So what is a vinegar cup? Maybe called in Latin or Greek. And he'll actually take that bone and he'll flip it apart, and it'll look like a vinegar cup. So the bone is called as acetabulum, and that stays in you forever. And I also taught briefly a little bit neuroscience here, and I would use those stories. And I had a professor in Ames, Professor Anjan Trika. He's an intensive care. He still is in Ames, intensive care physician in Ames, and he would say that if I don't teach, I don't learn. If I don't learn, I become a quack. And that stays in your mind forever. And I've been inspired by teachers and professors like that from my school days to right now the professors I'm working with as well. So, and it also, one thing you have to also say is you've moved into a new country, and Ireland culturally does not have much ties with India, unlike other parts of the world. So the onus is on you to explain what you know. And sometimes people may ask, how do you speak English here? I mean, English is like our first language. I mean, we learned from kindergarten to university, we learned everything in English. But people may not realize that, and you have to explain that to them. And you can't really get offended when people don't really know about what you already know. And the role is on you to explain. And to me, my thinking and the way I learn has been influenced quite a lot from what I've seen in India and what I learned in India.
Perfect. Is there any students, or like some kind of a college student, somebody who is interacting with you, asking for mentorship, guidance, something like that?
Yes, I do get a lot of queries. But one thing which I would say to students, instead of just asking people or anyone questions, sir, just tell me how to get a job there, or tell me what to learn. Be specific with your questions. The internet is there. Do your research. Ask the right questions. When you actually ask the right question, there is a right answer. What is the right question is, I'll give an example of our own school. I gave a talk in our school on 3D printing. And one of the students, this was like 2.5 years ago, and this time the plastic pollution problem in the world was not even much known. And I was talking about 3D printing polymers, and majority of 3D printing can be done with plastic. And one of the students actually asked a question about, when we 3D print, we are creating plastic waste. How do we deal with it? And that was one of the best reflective questions ever. And that is the right question. I kind of gave a small prize for him for asking me that question. So, and I don't expect every student to ask me the right question, but when you approach people, ask them the right questions. And what is the right question? You do research on them, and you see what would entice them, what would interest them to help you to help yourself. That's the way.
Perfect. So, students who are seeing this, I will connect you to Muthu. If you have the right questions, well-researched questions, feel free to reach out to me. You already know my number. You already know my email ID. In the meantime, Muthu has given a wonderful session to us. Muthu, thank you so much for giving us the time. It was so lovely to speak to you always. I wish I can get you another 30 minutes of your time for specifically for that expert talk on 3D printing and how it can be used. So thank you so much. Your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Radish, and thank you very much for reaching out to me and asking me to do this. It's been an absolute privilege, and I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I really look up to your channel, and it's inspiring. And thank you for starting this, and it's really inspiring to learn from all your network as well. And I look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you so much. Wasn't that very interesting? Being a medical professional, magic, basketball, French, German, and then now doing a 3D research on 3D machines, also performing his clinical duty. Is it an inspiration? Yes, there are a lot of people like this in our own inner circle. My task is to bring all of them to you so that there is a possibility of change, positive change in you. If you like this video, if you like the videos which we are trying to present to you, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your friends, talk to us. If you know some very interesting personality in your life, introduce them to us. Let's do a show on that. Okay. Next video, I have another interesting personality. Till then, thank you very much.